Welcome to another episode of Moving Markets. I'm Jeffry Dunyon, owner and founder of Safe Option Strategies. Today is March the 6th, and we are talking about what is moving the markets today. Once again, and this is the norm lately, the Dow Jones Industrial Average. Well, when I say the norm lately, this has been the last several trading days. The Dow Jones started to the upside, didn't get very far to the upside, 22, 23 some odd points. And now it's trading to the downside, down about 42, 43. It's early in the day. It's very early in the trading day. We're not even a full hour into trading. And so a lot could still happen today. Things could reverse. Things could go down a lot farther than they are. And it's really, you had a couple of things that I think are moving the markets today. Number one, you had this ADP jobs report. Some people put a lot of weight in this report. Others kind of dismiss it a little bit and wait for the more complete federal jobs report that comes out on Friday. The ADP job report this morning reported new job creation in the month of February of about 183,000. Analysts who are wrong 100% of the time. Analysts were expecting 189,000. So it missed, but it didn't miss by a long way. You get that news perpetuated and exacerbated a little bit by an article, somebody with some big fancy title that honestly doesn't know his head from a hole in the ground, says that job creation has peaked. It's all going down. I'm not sure I buy into that. I don't know that that's really what's going to happen. Some economist from Moody's says jobs may have peaked. I mean, honestly, how hard is it to say that? Jobs may have peaked. Okay, they may not have. I could say it till I'm blue in the face, until I'm absolutely sick about it. How often people will just say their opinion and it gets put out there as news. I talked about it a lot yesterday, so I won't talk much about it today because I don't want to beat on that same drum. The reality is that the sentiment has cooled a little bit. A lot of people don't pay enough attention to market sentiment. We look at underlying fundamentals. We look at technicals in the market. We look at levels of support and resistance. We look at economic fundamentals, things that, whether we have a strong, healthy job market, whether we have low unemployment, things like that. And then, of course, you have to analyze company profits. Are companies making money year over year? Are companies increasing their revenue? Are they growing organically? Is their stock price only going up because they're buying back stock and therefore, the number of shares are not as many, therefore each share is worth a little bit more. There's a number of reasons that stocks can go up, but a lot of times people don't consider and think about market sentiment. Going into December, we had, in fact, actually, this goes back to October. One of the biggest things that there wasn't any fundamental weakness in the economy, not that anybody could definitively point to. And there's the naysayers, there's the anti-administration people, there's the people that really, I mean, your Bill Maher's of the world, who genuinely want our economy to fail. They want a recession. They want the middle class and the average person to get hurt in their pocketbook, just for the sake of Trump not having a victory, just for the sake of people coming out and voting against him. That's asinine. I mean, really, I have no respect for Bill Maher. You want to talk about a person who people accuse Donald Trump of having an ego. People accuse politicians of having an ego. Bill Maher could be in a private bathroom sitting on the toilet by himself, and he's still not the smartest man in the room. But he believes he could be in a crowd full of PhDs in physics and in economics and doctors of medicine, and he could be surrounded by a group of people like that, and he still believes he is the smartest man in the world. And I got to tell you, he's so out of touch with reality. When he makes stupid, idiotic comments about how middle America wishes we could be the people on the East Coast, nothing could be further than the truth, and nothing could place him farther out of touch with reality than an asinine, moronic comment like that. I mean, the guy's a moron, and he speaks from such this platitude of superiority. He talks, and you can just see it in his demeanor, and you can see it in his eyes, and it drips out of every word he says that he really is an elitist. He really thinks he's better than anyone that he's talking to, and you know, anyway, I'm way off on a tangent about Bill Maher, but you've got people like him who are going to take any piece of news, any piece of data, and they're going to spin it negative. Yesterday, I was talking about a couple of personalities on Fox News and Fox Business News. When I got off on my spiel about the media and how it's no longer reporting news. The media is all about reporting opinion disguised as news. And so last night, after I went on that rant with my live audience here on YouTube, I was listening to the Five, and I can't even remember what subject they were talking about, but it came Juan Williams' turn to talk. And I said yesterday about how I probably disagree with 90% of what he says politically. But I think Juan Williams I've never met him, but he seems to me like he's a good guy. I mean, honestly, that's not any, insincere BS comment. I mean that genuinely. I think he's probably a very nice guy. I think he's probably a guy, you would enjoy hanging out with and doing things with if you didn't have to talk politics. But I remember now what the subject was they were talking about. They were talking about the investigations that are being opened up on Donald Trump. And Juan Williams wanted to draw a comparison to all the investigations that were done in the Obama administration. And the point that I think he was trying to make is, why are you so upset that Jerry Nadler and other Democrats are investigating all this stuff with Trump, but you weren't upset when it was happening with Obama? Two reasons. And I think this is, I think this is beyond the average liberal Democrat to understand this. There is a major difference between something that has taken place and something that has happened that has cost individuals lives, and that on its very face is obviously illegal or very close to being illegal, or at least there's the heavy suspicion that what's going on is illegal. When you talk about the Obama administration, you talk about Fast and Furious. All right, under Eric Holder's State Department, guns that were seized from criminals were then being sold to criminals in the hopes that they could be tracked and that you could find the criminals that were using these guns. And it was kind of a sting operation, but it went horribly wrong. It went completely off the rails for a number of reasons. Number one, Eric Holder's incompetence. That guy's as much as I just ranted about Bill Maher, put Eric Holder right in that same category. You talk about a man that is arrogant and stupid. Eric Holder botched that. He was incompetent start to finish. The man willfully and very disrespectfully thumbed his nose at Congress, was in contempt of Congress because he was caught outright lying about things. And people died in the Fast and Furious operation. Guns that we sold to criminals were then used in killing Border Patrol agents. It's that simple. People died as a result of Fast and Furious. Benghazi, one of the biggest loads of crap ever perpetrated on the American public, was the lies put out by the Obama administration, by Susan Rice, by Hillary Clinton, by Barack Obama. I guarantee you Barack Obama orchestrated that. If you think for one split second that he did not orchestrate that from the highest level, he had people in between him and the idiots that were saying the stuff to insulate it, but I guarantee he orchestrated it. People died in Benghazi. 4 good men died in Benghazi. It was a tragic loss, and our administration at the time, at the highest levels of our government, did everything they could to lie and deceive the American public about the cause of that and what happened, the incompetence on the part of the State Department under Hillary Clinton, and then the blatant lies to try and cover it up. These are the type of things that Barack Obama's administration got investigated for. Donald Trump is being investigated in the hopes that he has done something wrong in his business dealings, something wrong with his taxes, that he may have talked to the wrong person. The man has done business in many countries around the world. And prior to the time he was elected president, he was still in negotiations and still talking with mostly through mediaries, but he was still in conversation, and there was still communication going on with people from Russia over a project that was going to happen in Moscow. When he was elected and transitioned into the presidency, he handed that stuff off so that there wouldn't be a conflict of interest. But Democrats are having a fit over that. They want so badly to try and find a smoking gun to suggest that Donald Trump did something illegal or broke some law or committed some impeachable offense. So tying this back around to the media and to liberals and to anybody with a laptop computer that can type an article and have it picked up. And this all started because I'm talking about this person, this economist that says, jobs may have peaked. Well, for every person you can find that say jobs may have peaked, you can find somebody else that will say jobs haven't peaked yet, and we're still going to reach that pinnacle sometime soon. The reason I got off on the whole political slant to everything is because these people, like Juan Williams, like Maria Harf, like other Democrat liberal personalities. They want so badly to draw the comparison and to try and make a tax return the same thing as Americans dying in Benghazi. They want to make a meeting that has already been debunked in terms of colluding to try and influence an election, a meeting. They want to draw a comparison to that, a direct comparison to lives lost in a Fast and Furious scandal that, in my opinion, never got resolved. No one was ever held accountable for that. It's mind-boggling how idiotic their arguments are, and it's sad to me. So, anyway, that's my political rant for the day. Let's go back to the market for a minute. Anybody with a typewriter, not a typewriter, that makes me old-fashioned. Anybody with a keyboard, anybody with a laptop computer has that ability to jump online and write an article and try and convince you that their opinion is what's actually going on. And the reality is far from that. When the markets were falling in October, November, and December last year, market sentiment was low. People were scared. I should say market sentiment, confidence was low. Market sentiment was very bearish. People were looking for a reason to sell out of things. They were getting spooked by every little headline that came out. Every headline that came out would convince you that the sky was falling, that the world was ending, that our economies were collapsing. The reality was just the opposite. The fundamentals, the underlying fundamentals of the market of the economy, were fine. They were good. They were in great shape. Unemployment, record lows, and not just overall unemployment. You go to specific demographics. African American unemployment, record lows. Hispanic unemployment, record lows. Women unemployment, record lows. They're for the first time in my lifetime, there are more jobs than there are people to fill those jobs. When you've got an unemployment rate under 4%, you have an effective rate of 0. It means everybody that wants a job either has one right now or is just in the process of transitioning from one job to the next. The only reason that number is even 3.8 or 3.9 or 4.0, whatever it is right now, the only reason that number is that high is because there's always going to be a certain number of people that have just left a job. They might have gotten laid off. Company might have merged with another company and it eliminated some jobs. Automation may have eliminated a job. People are moving from one job to another. That represents an incredibly small percentage of the people that want to be working. And then you have the people that are never going to work, either because they can't, and there's legitimately people that cannot work, or people that don't want to work and they find a way to game the system. They go to work for a little while and then they go back and start collecting unemployment checks again. And they game the system. They'd rather get something for nothing. You've got companies growing. I'm so sick to death of this notion that that the economy is collapsing, that we're on the brink of disaster because the rate of growth has increased. I talked about this a couple of days ago. I'm not gonna harp on it again today. The rate of growth has slowed down, but we're still growing. We're still getting where we want to go. We're still moving in the right direction. We're just not moving there as fast as we were. It's like if you have nothing wrong with the car, you have a full tank of gas, weather conditions are good, and you run into a little congestion, a little bit of traffic. So things slow down, but the highway hasn't closed, the car hasn't broken down, you haven't run out of gas, weather is not blocking the next pass that you have to drive through. None of that is happening right now. We just hit a little traffic and we're slowing down, but we're still moving towards our destination. The economy is strong and things are still good. In the 15 minutes that I've been talking, the markets have gone from being about, the Dow's gone from 40 down to about 83 down. And the best thing I've heard in the last several days to explain this little bit of sell-off we're experiencing this week is there's a little bit of consolidation. We have gone practically straight up in the markets since December 24th of last year. That's not even 3 full months ago. And we're already pushing back towards record highs, not too terribly far from the highest the Dow has been, the highest the NASDAQ, the highest the S&P has been. You can't go up that fast forever. There's a consolidation taking place. People are pausing a little bit. They want to get that definitive, everything is nailed down, everything is locked down and secured news about a China trade deal. They want to hear the correct language about verifiable ways to hold the Chinese accountable on the intellectual property thing. That's such a big deal. I might spend a segment tomorrow just talking about intellectual property, just the devastation that the theft of intellectual property wreaks on companies. It's a major thing. One good friend of mine has made his living and made his livelihood off of a couple of patents that he's put together. He put a lot of work into it. A lot of ingenuity, a lot of creativity on his part to get a patent for something that people wanted and people were willing to pay for. Can you imagine you do all that work and then you want to produce what you manufacture a little bit cheaper in China? And you strike this deal where you're going to be able to produce your product for half the price. You're going to be able to lower your price to the consumer and still have a better profit margin, a better bottom line on everything. And then after a year of doing that, you've got 10 companies in China that are now making your product because they've just blatantly ignored patent laws and they've stolen your intellectual property. And now they're making it for pennies on the dollar and you can't even compete with your own patented product. So I'll go into a little bit more of that either tomorrow or Friday. Couple of one other thing that I think is notable that's moving the markets right now, and this is one of those things that is forever puzzling. I saw a breaking headline just moments ago. I'm looking off to the right here or to the left here again on my screen. There was some breaking news just a moment ago about oil inventories, and I'm not seeing the headline on it right now. So hopefully that'll come back up and maybe we'll talk about it a little bit tomorrow. But there was a breaking headline about oil inventories and it said that oil prices are going up. But in the midst of that, you've got companies like ExxonMobil and Chevron are trading. I think they're two of the biggest laggards right now on the Dow. In fact, Chevron is down just about 10 cents, but Exxon is down $2.06, little over 2.5%. And I saw this morning early, this was before the market opened, that the CEO or the CFO of Exxon came out and made some statement about how they're upping their guidance or their forecast, or their forecast looks better than it has in such a long time. And here's the illogic of the average person pulling the trigger on a trading account, whether it's a person with a small 6-figure account like mine, or if it's a person with a multi-million-dollar account or a multi-billion-dollar hedge fund. There is zero logic right now in why ExxonMobil is selling off. The company just reaffirmed and made some positive comments about their guidance being better than it has been. The headline is this. ExxonMobil raised its earning potential projections on Wednesday, citing improvements to its investment portfolio and divestment plans, which enable it to exceed the pace of its expected progress. Yeah, nothing but good news. So it makes all the sense in the world that Exxon is trading down. I got to tell you, with a story like that breaking, I'm going to call Exxon my pick of the day. I think now would be a perfect time to get into Exxon, because I think this little sell-off this morning is irrational, and more often than not, irrational sell-offs are followed by a big rebound and a big bounce. Folks, I'm going to wrap it up right there. I'm going to call it quits for today. We'll be back on tomorrow. Thank you for all those of you that join us live, and for those of you that are watching at a later date. Hope you enjoy this. Give us some feedback on what you like, on what you don't like. And I want to start, I know this is an early YouTube live presentation. I've just been doing this for a little while, but I've been teaching investment education for nearly 15 years now. Send in questions, send in comments on what you like and what you don't like. Try and keep it civil. I'm not one that's going to engage in a tit for tat. If you don't agree with one of my opinions on something, I really don't care. But I'll still listen to what you have to say. So send something in to us, ask us questions. We'll give you credit for the question and address your question in an upcoming episode. If you have a question on something, if you have a stock you want us to analyze and give you our thoughts on, we're happy to do that. Moving Markets is brought to you by Safe Option Strategies, the absolute best investment education that you can get anywhere. If you want to trade your own portfolio and do it in the most safe, secure way possible, look into Safe Option Strategies, safeoptionstrategies.com. Thanks, everyone. Bye.